Now that my first international event is done and I'm back at the office appreciating the nice heat of Chennai compared to the freezing cold of London, what's the first thing to do? Review the OnePlus 6 that I've been traveling with, of course. But before we get to that, if this is your first time here or in case you just can't remember, my name's Ash, you're watching C4 Tech. Here's a card to our latest giveaway. I'll also be leaving a link to it in the description below. And while you're down there, do hit that bell icon to turn on notifications. Let's now get started. The first thing you notice about this year's OnePlus is that build. For the first time since the OnePlus X, OnePlus have gone all glass. We've got Gorilla Glass 5 covering both the front as well as the back of this phone. That update puts OnePlus's design on par with mainstream flagships. Now, glass looks great, feels premium, but it also happens to be more fragile and prone to accidents than metal. It even picks up fingerprints real fast. But as long as this bag's clean, it looks great. OnePlus are offering a few different variants, the silk white being my favorite. But if you don't find anything you like, you can always slap on a debrown skin like I've done here. There's a ton of options to choose from, it looks great and it's practical too. You don't have to worry about grip or smudges anymore. I'll leave a direct link to dbrand, our sponsors for this video, in the description below. Do check them out. Now, OnePlus claims that the inclusion of glass to the back is not just cosmetic, it also makes for better cellular reception. And in my time with this phone, which was spread across 3 countries, various locations there, I had no dropped calls, no reception issues. OnePlus even claims the OnePlus 6 has day-to-day water resistance. Nope, no IP certification, but the OnePlus 6 should be able to handle a few splashes and rain. Anyway, moving on, the OLED sliders moved from the left to the right. I was not a fan of this move initially. I couldn't stop complaining to anyone and everyone from OnePlus I met. But at the end of my week with this phone, I'm used to the new placement. It's easier to trigger, so I'm on board with this swap. Most people should have no issues with this. What some people might have an issue with is, well, another sign of OnePlus catching up with the times, the notch. Me personally, I'm indifferent to notches as long as they don't get intrusive, like say when video wraps around it. Now, that doesn't happen on the OnePlus 6 by default. Videos play 18:9. That said, I do feel the need to nitpick here. To maintain symmetry, OnePlus does offer a software curve to the top edges of the display, but it's a different radius, not as prominent as the curve to the bottom. The lack of symmetry just bugs me. Like I said, it is nitpicking, so unless you are extremely obsessive about symmetry like me, just forget I said anything. Alright, back to the notch we go. How you use this is up to you. You can make videos wrap around it if you wanted to. Hell, you can even turn it off completely if you so desired. So why does this notch exist? It's there to help OnePlus keep the overall footprint of the OnePlus 6 similar to that of the 5T while still including a larger display. We get a 6.28-inch AMOLED panel here. The resolution is still Full HD+, but the aspect ratio is 19:9. This display is kind of what we've come to expect from OnePlus in recent times. It's a very good AMOLED panel, it's vibrant, punchy, bright, doesn't pose issues outdoors and has exceptional viewing angles. Going Quad HD might not have been the worst thing in the world. I get it, I mean, OnePlus have been using Full HD since their first phone all the way back in 2014. But I do get why they are averse to doing so. They feel Quad HD would take a hit on performance and battery life, which would be a negative and also kind of crank up the costs. Now, talking about performance, underneath the hood, the OnePlus 6 sports a Snapdragon 845 chip, the latest and greatest that Qualcomm has to offer. You get 3 RAM storage options, 664, 8128 and 8256. The performance here is top notch. The phone feels blazing fast, jumping between apps, browsing, everything feels super snappy. It's not just the hardware either. OnePlus have been working on the software too with a lot of behind the scene optimizations. This is Oxygen OS built on top of Android 8.1 Oreo. It's stockish but has a lot of OnePlus's own features built into it. For example, shelf, dark theme, accents, etc. Gesture support that we saw in beta for the 5T is now available out of the box on the stable build. You can swipe from the center for home, swipe and hold for recent apps, swipe from the left for back. Feels great, but this does mean you lose out on quick switch. That's something I use a lot personally, so I did end up reverting to on-screen keys after a couple of days. OnePlus have also included a gaming mode here, and being 2018, there's face unlock that works quite well too. The new fingerprint scanner had no issues, it is fast and accurate all the time I used it. Overall, OnePlus have done a great job with both the hardware and software. The user experience is excellent. Even with intense tasks such as gaming, the OnePlus 6 barely broke a sweat. If I had one request, that would be for OnePlus to get that earpiece to double as a second speaker. Almost every brand seems to be doing that these days. The single downward firing speaker, it's good, but as good as it is, it just doesn't hold up to stereo audio. Talking about what other brands are doing, there's another trend that OnePlus hasn't followed, and this time I'm actually happy about it. The headphone jack's alive and well on the OnePlus 6. Next, let's talk cameras. Guys, I am gonna have a dedicated video on the camera since I shot way too many pictures in London and I'm not gonna be able to include them all in this review video. So once that video is up, I'll leave a card to it here. But here's the short version. We now get optical image stabilization on the primary sensor. This is a new 16 megapixel Sony IMX519 sensor, the same one used on the Oppo R15. The secondary sensor is the same as on the 5T, a 20 megapixel Sony IMX376K. It's supposed to help resolve more detail and capture depth information. Both sensors use lenses with an f1.7 aperture. Under good lighting conditions, the OnePlus 6 does very well. Just look at the detail here. The images are very crisp, the processing feels natural, the dynamic range is also splendid. Just see the sky. Under low light, the images are still quite good. Nope, they're not P20 Pro or Galaxy S9 good, but they are better than the ones shot by the 5T. We still have low noise and ample amounts of detail. The portrait mode implementation is just like on the 5T, works for the most part. This time around though, OnePlus have taken a page out of the Samsung playbook and included an option to change the bokeh shapes. As far as video goes, we get 4K 60 FPS now, comes with EIS as well as OIS of course. Stability could have been better, especially at 4K 60. Autofocus again, at times there were little issues but nothing that an update can't fix. Overall, I feel the video quality is quite good. One thing I really liked is OnePlus's take on super slow motion. Instead of going 960 FPS for 0.2 seconds like everyone else, this is another trend that OnePlus has kind of skipped. They've gone 480 FPS but for an entire minute. That meant I didn't have to struggle to capture something like this. Yes, this shot would have looked much better at 960 FPS, but nailing it would have been close to impossible, especially given that my battery was running out. So half the frame rate for 300 times the shooting time, that feels like a reasonable trade-off to me, but what do you think? Here's a poll, let me know. Moving on, the selfie camera is the same as on the 5T, a 16 megapixel Sony IMX371 sensor with an f2.0 aperture lens. The image quality was similar too. Quite a lot of detail, reasonably good dynamic range. OnePlus says a portrait mode for selfies will be added via a future update. So overall, the OnePlus 6 is a good improvement over the 5T on the camera front. Almost everything else for that matter, everything seems to be great on this phone. The keyword being almost. There is one area where the OnePlus 6 struggles. Its weakest link, so to say, that happens to be battery life. There's a 3300 mAh battery inside. The battery life isn't bad, but it's not something I'd call good either. It's adequate at best. With light usage, you can get through a day on a single charge, but if your usage even gets a little intense, you're gonna have to plug in a whole lot sooner. Dash charge does help here, gets you from 0 to 100 in under an hour and a half, but this is still a negative. By the way, fun fact, OnePlus might be moving away from the dash charge name due to patent issues with Amazon. In fact, at the global launch, they didn't mention dash charging at all. They did mention it at the Indian launch, it's on the Indian material, but globally it's not there anymore. So yeah, I thought that's something interesting worth sharing. Anyway, let's now talk about something else that's interesting, pricing. The OnePlus 6 starts at 35,000 rupees. It is a little pricier than the 5T, but it also feels like a much more polished phone overall. OnePlus seems to have put together a great offering this year, and I feel it is worth the asking price. If you are looking for a phone that looks great, has powerful internals, excellent software, competent cameras, all while costing lesser than your regular flagship, then the OnePlus 6 is definitely the way to go. So there you go, my 2 cents on the OnePlus 6. Do you agree with my take or do you feel something different? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And I guess it's time I bid you adieu. If you hated this video, you know what to do. But if you did like it, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and please don't forget to turn on notifications by clicking that bell icon. Thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, my name's Ash. You've been watching C4E Tech, and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.